a white culture. It's really about us trying to survive it. And we're going to get more into that, and you're going to learn more about code switching as we go along. But why do we code switch, ladies and gentlemen? Well, for the most part, we code switch to identify with a particular social group, and most of the time, we don't even realize that we're doing it. Our conversation on code switching tonight promises a very open dialogue with a diverse panel, as I've said, on how individuals, particularly people of color, adjust all forms of communication and expressions based on their audience and psychological, emotional, and mental wellness impact it has on our lives. But before I bring on my co-host, I want to show you a clip of a code switching clip that I think all of you can identify with. Roll it.
Hola, amiguita.
Hola, amiguita, ¿cómo estás?
Qué chula te ves. Te veo. Oh, hey.
How you doing?
I'm better now. Oh, hey, Black Queen.
Hey, Black Queen.
How you doing, girl? Get poppin'. ¿Qué lo que, Gabriel?
Tú sabes, aquí tranquilo quieto.
Tú sabes. Oh, good morning.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. How was your weekend?
It was good. How was yours?
I was good. I was good. I went hiking.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Good.
Have a good one.
You too.
Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please bring in my co-hosts, Mr. Vaj Bodie and Mr. Nigel Asford. Come on in, guys. How you guys doing?
What's up?
Doing
What's
good.
up?
How are you doing?
What's up?
What's up?
Okay, see, it's gonna be that kind of night. Hey, thank you guys for joining the show tonight again. As I said earlier, this is a topic that we've spent some time on, putting the show together, and there are 3 points of views just right here that as we speak to this topic that we're going to lay out tonight. So I think it's going to be a good show.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I want to share with you all. I don't know if you guys have traveled already, but I'm getting ready to get on a plane tomorrow for the very first time in 2 years. And I am scared itless, okay? I mean, I'm going to be the guy on the news that they say, who the hell is that in that white hazmat suit trying to get on the plane? You have no idea how I've had to prepare. And I'm sure other people are experiencing that too for the first time, the anxiety of traveling. So I don't know how you guys have done it, because I know Nigel has traveled at least. I know that on a plane. And so,
Yes.
yeah, I don't know how you guys maneuver through that, but that's something that I know a lot of people having a lot of anxiety around, because if I'm having it, somebody else is having it. Okay, so.
I barely go to the grocery store.
Good point. Okay.
And when I do, I use my cart as sort of a boundary. Like if I think someone's getting too close to me, I put my cart behind me and walk around. They're too close in the front, move my cart to the front. I'm like, boundaries. I don't know how you're doing it.
Well,
I think it's also generational, because I think when we look back when COVID first started, they were saying, oh, if you're 50 and up, then you're most likely to get it. And you saw all these 20-somethings just jumping on these cheap flights, flying everywhere, and then ending up getting COVID and then being spreaders. So I think now that people have gotten this vaccine, the 20-somethings are like, okay, let's travel. We're least likely to get it again. And I think we just have way more, I don't know, like we're more gutsy, because I think, at a young age, you just think, oh, I'm invincible, until we end up in the hospital bed.
Well, you do bring up a good point, but I hope they've learned by now, because there's been a year of, okay, if they need any more proof of them not being invincible and can beat COVID, I don't know what else to tell them. But yeah, I'll be checking in with you all when I get to where I'm going, because I really am kind of in a little place with it. But thank you for letting me share that, you guys. You guys ready to move into the show tonight?
Yes.
You ready? Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you for joining the show tonight. David, thank you for joining the show tonight on code switching. Hey, Monica was one of the people who I told about code switching. She said, what's that? So Monica, we're gonna show you, we're gonna tell you tonight, Monica. Thank you for joining us. We have two guests who are joining us tonight, ladies and gentlemen, and our first guest is actually returning. She holds a PhD, a license as a clinical social worker, and earned her terminal degree in industrial organizational psychology with a specialization in organizational psychology. She has been providing licensed mental health services for 20 plus years to children, adolescents, and families. Our second guest, or the next guest, he is a veteran journalist, media executive, public relations professional, and media consultant. He is also the president and CEO of Ivory Communications, an all-purpose media consulting and marketing firm based right here in Northern Virginia. Lee, as I call him, is an ex-colleague at USA Today Gannett, where he was the former deputy managing editor of USA Today's news and sports departments. But through his incredible journey at USA Today, he has covered everything from presidential and congressional elections to NASA and civil rights. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our two guests tonight, Dr. Donita King-Holmes and Mr. Lee Ivory. How you guys doing?
Hey, how are you?
Hello.
Hey. I
So,
can't think of...
Alvin, I have one word for you. As
Yes,
you
sir.
get ready to start your travels. 1895.
You said, you said...
Oh, the mask.
Yeah.
Oh, the mask. Oh.
Yeah, those really good ones. I just got back from Arkansas, and I was on 2 of the big 320 Airbuses. And you know, there's a few hundred people on there, and I was scared to death. But as long as you got your really good paper mask, don't wear the cloth mask, you're good.
Lee, again, Lee, I'm wearing 2 masks now. Okay.
There you go.
And a visor and a white hazmat suit.
There
But
you
thank
go.
you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And trust me, I'm going to do whatever I can to protect myself. Donita, thank you for joining us again tonight.
Absolutely.
So if you all are ready, and like I told them, Donita and Lee has not seen any of the questions. So let's go ahead and start the show. So the first question is, in your opinion, what is code switching? So let me start with you, Donita.
Okay. Well, historically, when people mentioned or thought about code switching, it was pretty much limited to language. And anyone who spoke multiple languages, they were code switching. But when I started studying and looking at code switching from an organizational perspective, you look at how it's impacted people of color. And when we think about code switching for people of color, we're not talking about just language, but how they interact with people, how they speak to people, how their speech is interpreted by others. And you mentioned something in your introduction that we are inherently, almost unconsciously, taught code switching from the time we arrive in this world. We experience things, and from a survival perspective, we learn to code switch very early in order to survive.
Right.
Okay.
So that is essentially, in the short definition, code switching is how we interact or have to change and interact in different situations with other people, and how we speak in order to, you said it's not about fitting in, but it is about fitting in to different situations, different cultural settings, whether that's the workplace, a family setting. We do that switch in order to adapt or fit in from a survival perspective, in order to be accepted to some degree as well.
Okay. Do any of you have anything to add?
No, I think that's really pretty much all encompassing. I mean, it's to fit in and to survive. And it's really based on any social situation, like you said, whether it's work, family, any other location. Well done.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, okay, then we'll move right into our next question. And I want to give each of you, if you can, probably a minute and a half to answer this question. Can you give a positive and a negative example of how code switching has impacted your life? Lee?
Oh, that's a good one. A good one. Well, I think that You know, obviously this affects all of us, and Danita's absolutely right. It's about speech and the way you act, but it's also your appearance, your behavior, and the way you express yourself. And the idea is to make other people outside our communities more comfortable with us. You know, with the notion that if they're more comfortable with us, we'll receive fairer treatment, better service, or employment opportunities, in particular. But for me, that's a tough question. I mean, I think that code switching, obviously, any person of color in the United States right now, of the last 30 years, 35, 40 years, whatever, we've been very fortunate to have taken advantage of a lot of folks who came before us and kind of laid the groundwork, for us to get much better jobs and get promoted and what have you. And but even then, once we get into these gigs, we have to behave a certain way. We have to speak a certain way in meetings. We have to, if those of us who do public speaking, we have to speak the Queen's English when we're talking to crowds outside of our communities. And so I think that taking advantage of that in our education, and like Danita said, our parents start telling us, from the day that we're old enough to understand the language, boy, don't be going out here, splitting no verbs and infinitives and saying ain't and all that, you know what I mean? We get that lesson. We get that lesson.
Right.
I grew up in a Southern household where, the civil rights movement was right outside my door. You know what I mean? So
Where are you from, Lee?
Arkansas.
Arkansas.
Yeah,
Okay.
Bill Clinton's hometown, Hot Springs, Arkansas. Yeah. And so we got those lessons, and so it really helped us, in school. It helped us in college. It helped us, when we got to our professional lives, and to be successful.
Okay. Well, does anybody else want to weigh in on that question? How has in a positive or negative way?
Sure.
I will say that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Anita.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Nigel.
I would say for me, the positives being a person who loves the network. It was almost like a game to me, venturing out to different people who might have been Caucasian, who might have been professional, who might have been Hispanic, who might have been African American, who might have been everything from the upper class to the lowest of the low. And it was like, I wonder, can I connect with these people?
Yeah. Right.
And being a broadcast major and starting my career in TV reporting, you had to learn how to adapt to different types of people and different types of backgrounds. So it was like such a challenge to me in a game. And how can I, as a human being, connect to this human being? And I might not come from the same background from them, but I can connect with them in some type of way. And it was like a game. But I will say the negatives for me, I think growing up, going to a private Catholic school where I think African Americans was 2% of the students that were there from pre-K all the way to 12th grade. It was just very weird because I thought they defined what professionalism was. I thought they defined who I was supposed to be and how I was supposed to act. And that grew up with me. And I feel like we did not know who we were as African-American people. We just knew we had to, I think it was the Anita who said survive. We just had to learn how to survive.
Right.
And I think that was the negative until we got into college, became free thinkers and understood there is a plethora of people who comes in different images, who comes in different ways and who speaks different languages. And you don't have to fit this mold to be a professional or to be a millionaire or to be in business. You can come in different shapes and sizes.
That's right.
And just do it all.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I I want to keep moving. So if you guys, Donita, I know you were going to say something to the positive and the negative. Anything you want to add to that?
I'm glad I told Nigel to go first because he mentioned being social. And I think we need to identify that it's beyond being a social person, it's about what you may have to lose within yourself when you becoming a social person. So I'm a social butterfly. And like Nigel, growing up, diversity, I was placed in different situations. So I could be a chameleon and go from the hood to a high level tea party. And I knew exactly how to interact in those different settings. I think the negative impact of that is that we're constantly, as people of color, having to fit in or adapt to settings, whereas the rest of the world or the majority is told they don't have to accept us, our authentic and true self. And the negative part of that is that it is exhausting, especially when you're social and you're having to switch in these different settings in order to advance, in order to connect with people who, and then you get older and realize, like you said, you become a free thinker and you say, wait a minute, hold up.
I
What's wrong with this?
Yeah.
What's wrong with this picture?
That was okay, right?
All right, you guys, we have so many people commenting in the comments. I just want to jump to them really quickly. First of all, hi, Jessif. Hi, Scott. Sharon, she says she's looking forward to hearing what you have to say, Lee. David has asked, is it wrong to code switch?
We're going to address that.
I have a feeling we are. Rudy Miles has asked, what's the difference between code switching being multifaceted or being professional/appropriate? We might be getting to that a little bit later too. Christine has asked, how do we feel code switching is affecting men in the workforce now that there's a heightened awareness about men interacting with female colleagues? And then, of course, Wanda wants to let you know, Lee, that y'all used to code switch a lot at USA Today.
Absolutely. Hey, can I just throw a little something in real quick? I just wanted to piggyback a little bit on what Nigel said and what Donita said. For Nigel, your comments were like dead on, absolutely dead on. Excuse me. I took it I enjoyed my time. A newsroom, you got to understand, there's no other workplace like a newsroom because it's full of type A people. Everybody, thinks they're super smart. They're coming at the news from so many different ways, so many different races and ethnicities and stuff, in interplay in these news meetings and in a newsroom. So you have to figure out a way to talk to each other and so you could put out the best product that you can every day. And so to me, I really enjoyed it. Like Donita, I'm probably considered a social butterfly too. And so I enjoy talking to people and learning about them, learning about and embracing our differences and that sort of thing. But to Donita's point, it is exhausting. I just read a Harvard Business Review piece about code switching and about the psychological impact that it takes, the toll that it takes, in particular on people of color. Like she said, it's exhausting. It's exhausting for us to have to go through our scholastic lives, our professional lives, playing this duality. I've told people all my life, I said, Black folks ought to win an honorary Academy Award every year, because of the roles that we play, and we play so well, and but a little piece of the negative here, some of the negative pushback that you'll see to code switching or kind of an offshoot of code switching sometimes comes from us. Depending on how hard you're playing the game, because some people see that as you're selling out.
Right.
And so we'll probably get into that a little bit more down the road too. So.
Well, thank you all. Oh, go ahead, Vash. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, some of the negative impacts as well are also within the Black community. I mean, being a gay Black man, some of the negative things with me with code switching, I am not able to code switch out of gay to straight hetero Black. I just can't do it.
Just ain't gonna do it.
There's like neon just pointing at me as I try to do it. It's just not happening. So, I mean, we should look at that at some point too.
No,
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
and funny you said that, Bosh, because that's been probably one of my biggest, if we want to say, hurdles with code switching. But I'll elaborate more on that as we get through the show. So our next question, ladies and gentlemen, is what is the negative short/long-term impact on people of color, of which we've kind of, I'm going to use the term glossed over that a bit. But if let's take a few minutes to speak on that as well. What is the negative short/long-term impact on people of color?
Well, I would like to say that it makes people feel like they are less than when they are not switching into this other code, right? Mm-hmm. And it's presented to us that do switch as, oh, you're trying to act better than, as someone said, or you're trying to sound white, or you do sound white.
Exactly.
And that has an impact on both parties, right?
Yep,
the person who's saying it as well as the person who's receiving it. So it's divisive.
Yeah.
Makes you feel isolated.
Divisive. Yeah, it does. I think the negative impact on code switching I think one can lose themselves if they're not a confident person.
Absolutely.
If they're not grounded, or their self-esteem is challenged.
That's right.
Code switching can allow them to lose themselves. And then when you're around someone who is pretty confident in who they are, and they notice that's where the clash becomes, and you might not develop the relationship that you were hoping to have with that individual. So,
and especially when code switching doesn't necessarily pay off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? When it doesn't, that people say the end justifies the means. Well, sometimes, you don't get that promotion that you've been looking for. You don't get the job you've been looking for. You don't get invited to the work gatherings that you've been wanting to get invited to, and you've been doing your darndest to code switch and assimilate and do this. And so sometimes it doesn't work. But
well, when you what do you call it? When you start doing things, what is it? What I'm looking for? When you start overcompensating.
Right.
Who wants you around them anyway? You know what I'm saying?
People, yeah.
There's a fine line with that,
Because people can sniff that out. Folks just sniff that out,
Exactly. We have a few comments. First of all, Lee, everybody's like all geared up about your anchor voice. But
all right, David.
David said, Lee, so using your anchor voice during the news is code switching. Okay, wait a minute, David.
In a way it is. Yeah.
In a way it is. Alma says, I think everyone has a work voice and family home/voice. The difference, I think, is that when others are comfortable and come off in the home/comfortable voice, they've assumed in the comfort zone. I think I've read that all wrong. When Black people do it, they're considered not as smart. I think we got to just. Sorry, Alma, I botched up your comment, but I think we all got it. Okay. Yeah. So let's move to the next question. What can people of color, and particularly the LGBTQI community, do to navigate in the corporate world?
Well, I want to speak on that, but it wasn't corporate for me. I think it was more back in high school when we were such a small percentage of African Americans in that school. We all gravitated towards that one Black teacher that we had in the whole school. We would always arrive early, 20 minutes, and it would be everybody from the popular, sports, nerdy, like rich, poor, everybody, all people of color just went into that classroom that morning. And that was a time where we just felt safe and around our own community. And it was crazy that Caucasian students were going around calling our meetups the BBB, the Black. Yeah. And in weeks later, we get an email from the administration saying, if you're not an organized school event, you are no longer, or organized school club, you are no longer able to meet with teachers before the bell ring. And it was crazy that they saw it almost as a threat. And then that's why we're just so excited about like organizations like in college, the NAACPs or 100 Black Men or our Divine Nine fraternities and sororities, where we feel that sense of relationship, family, and also that networking sense where we can be ourselves but still get work done.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, in this question kind of ties back into the one you just asked about short and long-term impact. And then when you think about in corporate America, some of the short-term impact is low job satisfaction, decreased work performance in the short run. Over time, though, on the long-term impact, feelings of abandonment for yourself, feeling abandoned,
that's right.
as well as depression and anxiety. I think one of the biggest things that I found important in corporate America is mentorship and sponsorship. Finding someone that you can connect with in corporate who understands what your experiences can be as a person of color in a corporate world and can help you navigate through it. Because without that support, it increases the chances of having or experiencing some of those long-term psychological effects like depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
But Danita, going on the same question that we're asking about the what can people of color in the LGBTQ community do to navigate, as a Black woman, when you feel like you're the lowest on the totem pole behind the white man, the white woman, and the Black man, like you're not allowed to get angry. You're not allowed, you have to be faster, you have to be smarter. And how do you navigate that as a Black woman? Where do you go to feel, okay, I can put this shield down? Because everyone always thinks the Black woman is always strong.
Yeah.
Right. Yes, because we're plagued by that strong woman syndrome too, that makes people think we don't need support as well. So for a Black woman in corporate America, I've survived through code switching. I've advanced through code switching, but now I've arrived at a point where I no longer have to do as much code switching when you advance to a position where your voice is a deciding voice. So when and another way that I've tried to combat this experience for Black women is being at the table, because now you have a lot of corporate, because of the Me Too and all these other movements, you'll now see a lot of diversity and inclusion trainings that are increasing in number.
Yeah.
The problem is a lot of the diversity and inclusion trainings are attended by frontline staff, and the people who need to be in those trainings are the leaders and the decision makers.
Exactly.
Those are the ones who need to be in those meetings about diversity and inclusion, because they're the ones in power positions that are making it hard for people of color, who are making it hard for the LGBTQ, the community. So my way of navigating was using Code Switch as a survival and a tool to get to a position where I need to be, so that I can then go back and mentor other people of color and be in a position of a decision maker in order to help mentor them to get to places that would typically not be allowed for us to even transition into, or to prevent them from being passed over for higher level positions.
Yeah, Danita's absolutely right. You're stealing all my stuff, Danita.
I'm sorry.
You're just way too smart. You're just way too smart. But she's absolutely right, because, but you know, the thing is though, it's incumbent upon us to also do our homework. You know, before we go to these companies, you know, we need to figure out, we need to do our own kind of company appraisal. You know, it's not enough. You know, there's some companies that tout themselves as colorblind, you know, race neutral companies. Anytime that anybody white tells you, I don't see race, I don't see color, watch your back, because not that they're malevolent, but perhaps they haven't given any kind of deep thought to what it means to be Black in America. Okay. Right. The very best companies are the ones that Danita pointed out, are the ones that practice inclusion and diversity, and they're a little bit different, especially inclusion at the higher echelon. You know what I mean? It's really important because everything in these companies comes from the top down. You know, Gannett, where we worked, Alvin, at the time had a great reputation for diversity, for hiring people of color and promoting women and you know the whole 9 yards. And so, you know, we rode that for, you know, whatever it was worth. But not all companies are like that. And so we really have to pay attention to these places where we apply, where we work, and figure out if and talk to people. You know, do your homework. It's not just enough to interview. You know, you got to talk to people. Everybody's got LinkedIn, you know, and the world is so small these days. Somebody knows somebody who works there.
To work
you
there,
know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. And ask them. The other, just really quick, when you were asking Nigel the question about, you know, as a Black woman, you know, how does she kind of get hers? You know, for us, I think in journalism, we have NABJ, which is the National Association of Black Journalists. And so every year, you know, we have a big convention and stuff. But, you know, all year round, we're doing programs that talk about, you know, code switching and training and diversity and inclusion. And I cannot tell you how much it recharges your batteries every year when you go and you're surrounded by 3,000 plus people, you know what I mean, who go through the same thing that you go through every day. And you can have these conversations about, you know, this happened to me, man, you wouldn't believe what it, you know what I mean? And everybody has, well, what did you do? You know what I mean? And so you walk away with solutions and ideas and stuff like that. And so, you know, we really have to have, you know, groups that, you know, that we can go and tap into those solutions.
So in saying all of that, who in your opinion has done a good job of navigating like that corporate life?
Oh, I didn't hear.
What was that, Nigel?
I was saying that about meeting and networking with so many people and who's teaching you all those type of things. Who, in your opinion, has done a good job of navigating corporate life?
Well, while you're thinking, I'm just going to say President Obama. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know.
Example.
I'm talking icon. Okay.
The ultimate. Right.
And that's all I have to say. President Obama.
Yeah.
Is there anyone?
Yeah. I agree with that one.
Yeah. But you know, but across the country, you know, there are thousands of examples of people of color who have been successful, whether it's radio, whether it's television, whether it's Procter & Gamble, you know, whether it's Netflix, whether it's whatever, you know what I mean? Anybody who is in a position of authority obviously has done a really, really good job at jumping over a lot of those hurdles. But, you know, really the truth is anybody who's working in corporate America has done a great job. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And
so look, guys, I'm sorry because I got to keep this moving along because we have a few more questions that I know our viewers want to get to. So I'm going to use this method and this wonderful term. We hit it and quit it. Okay, you guys, we're going to move through because we got to get it done. So one of our next questions that came to us, can you name an example of how it impacted you at work? I mean, I can say I benefited from it in a way. I have also been impacted from it because I've had Black people use it against me. Okay, I've had my own race use it against me and say that I'm projecting or being someone that I'm not. While all the while I'm moving ahead and they're still back there.
Yeah. Okay,
so that is my example of how it's impacted me. It's actually made me a better person and a better thinker.
Yeah. Well, you know, when I was a reporter, that's what I first think back to. When I was a reporter, particularly when I was my first newspaper gig was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and Shreveport, unlike New Orleans and South Louisiana, is a pretty conservative place. And so, there were situations where I would call people on the phone and set up interviews, and I'd show up at their places, either their homes or places of business, and they didn't believe that that they had talked to me on the phone. One guy just flat out told me, "Well, you don't sound black," and I'm like, "Well, okay, how am I supposed to sound?" But conversely, there were brothers and sisters at City Hall and on the city council who would talk to me, who wouldn't talk to anybody else. Right. And we would rap like we're rapping right now. And I got some really, really good stories, by, kind of turning on my blackness when I was with them, that really helped me out. So, that's one example,
Okay.
Obviously, trying to matriculate through USA Today, that was a tough task, but it worked out. So
okay, all right. Anyone else? Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to move to the next question. What role did resiliency play in managing the impact? What role does resiliency play in managing the impact of code switching? I just spoke to that. I think it's a lot. It means a lot because it's a lot. You have to be strong. You have to be resilient in order to deal with some of the impacts of code switching. I think you have to be.
I think Danita hit it on the head. When you were talking about just how exhausting it is for us to have to do that all the time, every day, in most situations. And, it doesn't even stop once you get outside of work. If you get invited to work events, oh my God, you got to do the same thing. And so you really have to be selective about the parties that you want to go to or the cookouts you want to go to, and whether you feel like, you're up for that. Danita, what do you think?
I agree. I think resiliency can be the differentiating factor between a person who is able to endure code switching because it is necessary just in life for people of color. But I think it plays a vital role in preventing those long-term negative impact of mental health issues, the irritability and dissatisfactions with jobs, which could contribute to repeated turnover. So resiliency, I believe, plays a big part of helping people to really navigate the world, because I don't think they can exist without code switching. It's a necessary part. It's an essential part of a skill that people of color have to develop just to navigate in this world. And so resiliency, I think, is really the deciding factor between whether or not it has a negative impact over the long haul, or if there are some protector factors put in place like resiliency, support, mentorship. Those are the things that help to prevent some of those long-term negative effects of code switching.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Lee.
No, I was just going to say, just real quick, you guys are familiar with the Obama interpreter, right? The Key and Peele skit?
Yes, I am. Yeah, very popular.
That is the epitome of code switching right there. But they got the idea for when Team USA, when Obama was in office, and he went into to the NBA locker rooms to visit Team USA. And there's video of it. You can see it. And Obama's going down, all the guys are lined up to shake his hand. And he's going down the line and he's giving, the white team personnel the old traditional handshake. And then he gets to Kevin Durant and he's breaking it down, He's breaking it down.
Pop locking.
Whole body, pop locking, the whole body. Just changes, And that's where Key and Peele got the idea for the Obama interpreter, So just to the side.
So I'm gonna move down the list because first of all, let's speak to some of our viewers. Thank you so much for being on here tonight. Joseph, I think, was speaking to the question that pertained to who I think what was the question about who in corporate, as an example,
Right.
was best at code switching? And she said the first was Ursula Burns, who served as CEO of Xerox from 2009 to 2016,
Good
and
one.
as chairman from 2010 to 2017.
Yeah, very good.
Lori Grant, hey Lori, she said all Black CEOs, top executives at white firms, i.e. Chenault at American Express, now retired, okay?
Yep.
And
Yep.
Alma says Sidney Poitier, okay? All right, thank you. So look, okay, okay, how do you react when someone tries to speak your code?
Oh my goodness.
What's your reaction to that? And what is your reaction to that? I know mine is wide-eyed. I have wide-eyed is like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Because it takes a minute to actually realize that someone is actually speaking in a way that's kind of foreign to them, or that we think is foreign to them.
Yeah, you know, the audacity of it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and it makes you want to ask them, what are you doing, and why are you doing that?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you doing that? And it makes a very awkward situation for in most cases. So yeah, that we wanted to make sure that we asked that question, because we know all of you have had people code switch in front of you as well. So we know you have. And and we're getting near the end of our topic discussion, because we now know that we can have a whole hour on code switching. Okay, we already know that. And thank you to our viewers for making this possible. But does code switching affect your self-esteem?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If you can't be your authentic self,
Mm.
then how does your self-worth, your self-image, how do you establish or develop a positive self-image when you're constantly having to shift what comes natural to who you are in order to fit in and adapt to and be accepted in other settings by other people? So it definitely impacts self-esteem. Because that's a constant message that's given to people of color, that who you are is not good enough.
Yeah.
How you talk is not good enough either.
Right.
And if you talk appropriate or English, then your race is automatically perceived as you lack intelligence, or you're acting like someone else.
Yeah.
Right.
So it drives me insane when I hear people say, "Oh, you're talking white," and I will kindly check someone to say, when you say that to somebody, then that means that talking Black is a negative thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's less than. It's less than.
It's about lacking intelligence if you talk Black. So in order to talk appropriate or not use slang means that is attached to being white.
Yeah.
And I think Najee. Mm-hmm.
No, and for somebody whose self-esteem is not in a good place, they will feel defeated.
Yeah.
And that will ultimately limit their opportunity to advance if someone comes at them like that, particularly in a job setting or in an interview setting. If someone comes at them like that, that level of defeat would allow them to lose that opportunity.
Yeah. And I think just going after what somebody said earlier is so tiring. I think going from a professional setting where I have to talk one way, then I get around my folks in Alabama and I have to switch it around before they say, "Why are you talking like a white person?"
Right.
And then when I go to a barbershop, I have to straighten it up because I'm afraid of Black men might look at me about being too gay. And then I will have to just switch on and off, and it gets so tiring to the point where you're saying, okay, now which one am I? Who am I? What I know how to put on these different hats, these different faces, these different masks, but when I go home at the end of the day, who am I? And it gets very, very, very exhausting. And at the age of 29, I think it's to the point where I think Mr. Ivory said, you have to do your research. Now, when I go to a barbershop, I have a barber who's a lesbian female, Black lesbian female who is amazing. I can talk to her about anything. I have friends who accept me. And now to my family, take it or leave it. You're the ones who sent me to the private schools to have me talk this way. So y'all are going to
Deal with it. Deal with it. Well, go ahead, Lee.
I was just going to say real quick. I never correct my Black brothers and sisters, in the workplace, unless it's something that's really egregious. And the one thing though that is like a cat scratching on a blackboard for me is when somebody is in front of a bunch of folks outside our community and repeatedly says "ax."
I knew that was going to be
That drives me crazy.
Why am I laughing? Okay.
Oh, that drives me crazy. I've been in situations where I remember this one brother. He was speaking. He was giving this beautiful speech. Yeah, man. Yeah. And he was like, "Let me ask you." Oh, man.
But Lee, it shows
with
up
that.
as documented as an acceptable form of
I know.
ask.
I know
Isn't
now.
that crazy?
It is now. I know.
It is now.
Crazy.
Yes.
It's crazy. But to be clear now, whereas we probably code switch more than anybody else.
Right.
You can make the argument, but white people code switch too.
Yeah.
Of course.
I had a really good buddy from Florida who worked at USA Today, and his twang. I mean, he sounded like Jed Clampett, except when he got to work, he sounded like Mr. Drysdale.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Y'all too young to get that one.
Hilarious though.
Good people. We have come to the end of our topic section tonight on code switching, and I want to ask this last question, and it's really like a yes or no. Okay, it's just a yes or no. How can you avoid? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a yes or no. Can you avoid code switching?
No.
No.
Not completely.
Well, there you have it. Ladies and gentlemen, please thank you all viewers for joining us on this topic tonight. It was very important to Vosh, Nigel, and I that we had this discussion, and we couldn't have had this type of discussion if we didn't have Lee Ivory and Dr. Holmes with us tonight, and we cannot thank you all enough. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
No, thank you. And we will bring
An
you
honor.
back because code switching part 2 has to happen. Okay,
Yeah.
but
Absolutely.
but for our second segment tonight, Vosh has put together a code switching game.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay.
Code
So,
switching.
take it
is
away,
all-
Vosh.
Yes, code switching is all about terms that you swap in places. So I want to check and see how much y'all know. So I have a little test. It's the HST. He said slang test. So if you are at home and you are watching, you are welcome to participate. So how the game is played. There's going to be 7 terms off to the side, numbered 1 through 7. You're going to get a definition. And then for each definition, there's going to be 4. You're going to choose the term that goes with it. So ultimately, your answer is going to look like this. If you were playing at home, you're going to put your answers in the comments section. And at a certain point, I'm going to ask you to hit send to send them to us so we can see. You guys over here playing, why don't you guys put your answers into the private chat? And that way you can hit enter on the private chat and we can see, so no one's cheating on our panel. Y'all got that?
You got it.
Everybody ready?
You got
Our
it.
first word is slay.
all right.
Our second term is bridge troll. Slaps is number 3. Vaccinista is number 4. Chuggy, number 5. Yassification, number 6. And plog is term number 7. Everybody ready?
Uh-huh.
So,
Impressive.
definition number 1.
Okay.
Which word means impressive, good, or worthy of attention?
Oh, okay. I'm
Okay.
gonna go ahead and put mine
Choose
in
your
right
answer.
now.
Put it
Okay.
into, right? Going on to number 2. Which term means outstanding, better than anything else?
I'm gonna lose
Choose your
this game.
term.
I'm gonna lose this game.
I'm gonna lose this one too.
I'm gonna
All
lose
right,
this.
come on.
I'm gonna lose this. Okay.
Y'all ready?
Yep.
Everybody ready? Moving
Yep.
on. Number 3, it means uncool, untrendy, someone who is stuck in older trends.
Oh, it
Make
better
a
be
choice
what I
from
think
our
it
7
is.
terms.
Okay.
Ready?
Uh-huh.
Number 4, last question, last definition. A person who gets vaccinated and flaunts it with high-end trips and parties.
I better get this right. I better get this right. I better
All
get
right.
this
Wait,
right.
didn't you say you leaving, Alvin?
All right, everybody, if you're playing at home,
Oh
submit
my
your
God.
answers, hit enter. I want to see some answers popping up into the
Oh
comments.
my God.
You hit your answers because I'm checking yours now as well. All right. Okay. Everybody ready? Here are the answers.
Oh, wait a minute. They are going. I think I'm okay. Wait a minute.
Oh
These are the
man,
answers.
That's the answer.
The
I
answers are
got one
3,
right. I got one
5,
right.
4, 6. 3, 5, 4, 6. I want to
I ain't
see.
got none of them right.
Clearly, I got them all wrong, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
me
I just
too,
want y'all to
man.
know. I got
them all
every
wrong.
last one of them wrong.
Yeah, I got them all wrong. Man.
I don't believe we have anyone who got them all right. Let me show you guys what all of the answers actually are. It was 3 slaps. It means impressive, good, worthy of attention. The new burrito at Chipotle, it slaps.
Is that like a current thing?
Hmm?
Like, how current are these terms?
These
Yeah,
are
right.
very
Right,
current. These are all very current. I made sure I pulled the ones that were from 2021 and beyond, and I checked multiple sources. I confused you guys because slaps and slay could be confused with two.
Yeah.
Chugi and Bridge Troll could be confused. So Chugi is uncool, untrendy.
I can't. My mind is all over the place right now. This is too heavy for me. This is
know.
it,
I'm
okay.
hilarious.
You know I'm old.
I'm like,
But I think
first of all, Vosh,
Good
thank
job.
you.
Good job.
Yeah,
For
good
breaking
job.
the ice, if you will. Okay.
I learned something tonight. I
Oh,
learned
that's
something
right.
tonight.
we all
Yes.
learned that
I'm
Alvin
like-
is a vaccinista and gonna be going
That's
away on
right, that's
vacation.
right.
Okay,
That's
because
what-
I was ready to call someone a vaccinista tomorrow. I was going, she's a vaccinista or whatever. Okay. But no, again, we cannot thank you enough, Lee and Donita, for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
You
Thank
guys are like
Thank you for
absolutely
having us.
incredible. Thank you. And viewers, we can't do this show without you. So please applaud yourselves and go to our Instagram, our Facebook page, and our YouTube page and like us. Click like, share. Okay, we want to hear from you. And we really do appreciate you guys joining us tonight. Now,
This is
this
slaps.
slaps.
Thank
Thank you, Christina. So next week, ladies and gentlemen, we will not be on the air next week because
Our vaccinista is taking
Vaccinista
the
is
vaccinista
flying away.
and I didn't want to take the chance. You know, we have our producer is just such a wonderful person. And if I was to get online and have the show and all the Wi-Fi and stuff was out and I was clicking in and out, he would have a field day with me. So we're going to go black next week. I didn't mean anything by that, but we're going to go dark next week. And we will return on the 28th of January. And this will be a good show for all of you on here because we're going to talk about estate planning. All right. And we have trust and estate litigator, Terry Franklin. Y'all Google him. Okay. Google Terry Franklin and find out who he is. He will be here on the 28th to talk about estate planning. And you do not want to miss that show. Believe me. And also, and Nigel and Vosh can chime in on this. February 26th is going to be our 1-year anniversary. So viewers, we're going to ask you to participate. For some of you who have been coming on every week, and we know some of who you are, you just may get an email asking you to do a video clip for our anniversary show. All right. And for those of you who have been on the show, you are getting a video, a letter, invitation to develop a 1-minute clip and let us know how you feel about the show. So it is coming February 26th. Prepare your voices, your makeup, your lights, and everything else, because we're coming back at you, okay? Our words of the week. Every superhero has this superhero identity and civilian identity. A lot of their lives are about code switching. And this was by author Jean Luen Yang. So if you ever thought that your code switching was a problem, consider yourself a superhero. How about that? All right, you are a superhero. So once again, we thank you all. We got like 1 minute actually before we're signing off. Lee and Donita, you got any parting words real quick? You got about 30 seconds. Lee?
Go ahead, Donita.
Go ahead, Lee.
No, go ahead,
okay, 20 seconds gone. Go ahead, Donita.
Okay. I was going to say, I'm actually glad that you chose to do this topic today, and just to share, because this has been going on for so much longer than what people are aware of. I would definitely say W.E.B. Du Bois talked about the double consciousness.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And he did a book back in 1903 called The Souls of Black Folk. Get it?
Yep.
I think having a historical understanding of how long that this has been in existence, even though it's a fairly new term for people today, definitely gives some context to what code switching is and what we've been dealing with for years. For years.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lee?
Code switching, playing the game, whatever you want to call it, that's fine. But be yourself. Be yourself. Never lose yourself. You know, stay true to yourself. You know, you're smart, you're resourceful, you know what you're made of. And so don't let anybody ever dissuade you from that.
See, okay, we got the right folks. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining our show. Nigel and Vosh, thank you for a job well done. And we will see you all on the 28th of January on the next episode of He Said.
He said.
He said.
Y'all have a good night. Take care, everybody. Thank
Peace.
you. Thank you, Lee. Thank you,
Good night.
Donita.
Thank you.